Good evening, girls. Till now, we are done with parity check, cyclic redundancy check. So, today we will learn about Walsh codes. Coming to the introduction of Walsh codes, the Hadamard code is an error correcting code named after Jacques Hadamard that is used for error detection and correction when transmitting the messages or data over very noisy or unreliable channels. Very noisy in the sense there is a lot of disturbance in the medium so that there will be loss in energy. Unreliable channels means not proper channels with a satisfactory conditions. Because of its unique mathematical properties, this Hadamard code is not only used by engineers, but it is also intensely studied in coding theory, mathematics, and theoretical computer science. And this code is also known under names of Walsh code and Walsh family, and also sometimes it is referred as Walsh Hadamard code. So the name, as I told the first slide, name was kept after the scientist who have discovered the code. He is Jacques Hadamard. This table will tell you the classification, I mean the type and the block code type of Hadamard code. If, for example, the block length is n, then that will be equal to 2 to the power of k, where k is the message length. For example, block may be 8 bits. So 8 bits will be 2 to the power of 3. So the message length will be 3 words. And the rate is given by capital K divided by 2 to the power of k. Distance is denoted by 2 to the power of k minus 1. Alphabet size will be 2 always, because as I already told, coding, all the codings deal with only binary data, and binary data contains only 0 and 1. Notations will be in terms of 2 to the power of k, or simply k, or 2 to the power of k minus 1. That means in terms of block length, in terms of message length, in terms of distance. Walsh codes are most commonly used in orthogonal codes of CDMA applications. Orthogonal means perpendicular, and CDMA is the first telecommunication technique which were used in older phones, first generation phones, or the starting mobiles like Motorola, Reliance. And CDMA stands for code dependent multiple access. I repeat once again, first form of mobiles which had a greater size of SIM card in that, and that kind of mobiles, that kind of system, or the mobile which works on that system, are called as CDMA mobiles. The best example for this is Motorola and Reliance. CDMA stands for code dependent multiple access. Okay. These days, you can't use CDMA cards for your smartphones or fourth or fifth generation mobiles. Okay, that's why whatever SIM we get, we cut it into small pieces according to the mobile technology. If it is a nano, that is the smallest SIM card available. If it is an Android, that is the next size of after before nano. CDMA is the first type of SIM card facility which we have used. These codes correspond to lines of special square matrix, and that matrix is named as Hadamard matrix. I will show you how that matrix will be designed and what is the content in the matrix. For a set of Walsh codes having length capital N, it consists of small n lines to form square matrix of order n into n, and that code is called Walsh code, and that matrix is called Hadamard matrix or special square matrix, like this. The IS International System in 95 uses 64 Walsh function matrix 64, using the matrix 64. 64 in the sense 8 into 8. It contains 8 rows and 8 columns. You already, I think I need not explain about a matrix formation. Matrix is similar kind collection of elements which are arranged in the form of rows and columns. And you know, rows into columns will represent the order of the matrix. N into n, 8 into 8 will be 64. And one more thing you have to observe in Walsh codes is number of rows will always be equal to number of columns, because already in this slide I have mentioned that these codes will correspond to the lines of a special square matrix. Square matrix always contains equal number of rows and equal number of columns, and that's why the order of Hadamard matrix will be n cross m. Okay, the International System A95 uses 64 Walsh function using a 64 matrix. That means 8 by 8 square matrix containing 8 rows and 8 columns. The first line of the matrix always contains a string of zeros, which with each of the following lines containing different combination of 0 and 1. Each line is orthogonal and equal representation of binary bits. When implemented with CDMA system, each mobile user will use one of the 64 sequence of rows in a matrix as a spreading code. What is telling? Each line will be orthogonal and each equal representation for binary bits. When it is implemented using CDMA based system, each mobile user, whenever he is talking about CDMA, he is using the term called mobile user. That means CDMA is the first and foremost technology which has been used for mobiles. So each mobile user will use one of the 64 sequences of rows in a matrix as a spreading code, and it provides zero cross correlation among all the other users. You have already done with correlation, autocorrelation, cross correlation, differences, properties, etc. Okay, correlation means similarity between objects, if you remember shortly. Okay, what is telling? It provides zero cross correlation among all the other users. This matrix is defined recursively as follows. Since we are dealing with Walsh codes, he is representing the matrix with the word W. W is equal to 0 is a null set matrix. W2 is equal to some elements which are represented as omega 1, omega 2, omega 3, omega 4, or omega 1 1, omega 1 2, omega 2 1, omega 2 2. Sorry, W, where n is the power of 2 and indicates different dimensions of the matrix W. Further, n represents the logic NOT operation on all the bits in the matrix. The three matrices W2, W4 and W8 respectively show the Walsh function of dimension 2, 4 and 8. That means 2, 4, 8. 2 to the power of 2 is 4. 4 elements are represented by matrix W2. 2 to the power of 4, because he is already saying n is the power of 2. Now he is saying n can be either 2, 4 or 8 in this example, in this figure. So if n is equal to 4, 2 to the power of 4, that will be 16. You can see all the 16 elements are arranged in 4 rows and 4 columns. Equal columns, equal rows. Hence it is called a square matrix. The third one, 2 to the power of 8, that will be equal to 64. 8 rows and 8 columns. One more common point you have to observe in all the matrices are, as he told in the before slides, each matrix, first row and first column will be zeros and remaining will be combinations of zeros and 1 in any order. Each line of 64 Walsh matrix corresponds to a channel number. The channel number 0 is mapping to the first row of the Walsh matrix, which is the code of all zeros. This channel is also known as pilot channel. That means first row, first column's number or the digit which represents, and that is called as pilot channel and is used to form and to estimate the impulse response of mobile radio channel. To calculate cross correlation between the sequences, we will need to convert bits into matrix to form an antithesis of plus or minus 1 values. However, all the users on the same CDMA channel can be synchronized with an accuracy of 1 chip interval. Accuracy means matching All the channel users can be synchronized with the accuracy of one chip interval using a common log PN sequence. It also functions as a data scrambler. Walsh code is a group of spreading codes having good autocorrelation. Now here along PN sequence is nothing but PN junction semiconductors. Walsh code is a group of spreading codes having good autocorrelation properties. They are the backbone of CDMA systems and are used to develop the channels in individual CDMAs. For International System A95, there are 64 codes available as I told. Code 0 is used as a pilot and code 32 is used for synchronization. Code 1 through 7 are used for control channel. I think this complete paragraph is explaining about the terms, the elements of the matrix. Codes 1 through 7 are used for control channels and remaining codes are available for the traffic channels if they are not needed. For CDMA 2000, it is a version of CDMA. If you want to observe the versions of CDMA, just log on to Google and search for the Motorola or Reliance mobiles which works on CDMA technology. You can know the different series present in CDMA. For CDMA 2000, multitude of Walsh codes exist which vary in length to accommodate the different data rates and spreading factors of the different radio configuration. These are nothing but simply properties which are features which are there on that particular mobile. One of the 64 orthogonal bit pattern at a rate of 1.2288 MCPS microchips per second. Walsh codes are used to identify the data for individual transmissions. In forward link, they define forward code channels with a CDMA frequency. In the reverse link, all 64 codes are used by each reverse channel to carry the information. And this is how multiplexing will be carried out in a Walsh function. You can observe data is connected to modulator. Modulator has different codes, which each code has a combination of either 0 and 1. 1 out of 4 is connected to an antenna, which will transmit the information. From the modulator means sender side. Demodulator means receiver side. From the antenna, he will receive the signal, and that will be connected to either of the code, which will be transmitted to the maximum value to the selected customer or to the selected mobile user who has a particular CDMA number. Walsh sequences come into first category, which is orthogonal code, whereas sequences that is PN, Gold, Kasami are shift register sequences. These are another examples of Walsh family codes. Now here also you can see this is the complete picture of block diagram. User data modulation that is multiplied with transmission and it is sent to the receiver by adding the spreading sequence, which is nothing but the representation of either zeros or ones. At the transmission is done at the radio frequency, modulation is done at baseband frequency. Baseband frequency and radio frequency both has a power density. That's why in digital communication, wherever you find concepts like correlation and Fourier transform, there is a density called power spectral density, because each frequency will have certain power spectral density in which it has to be operated. Walsh code is a special set of code that is usually used for spreading digital data. Please underline the word digital data. One of the key characteristics of Walsh code is that all the members in the set are orthogonal to each other, perpendicular to each other. One of the best known application of Walsh code is data spreading for CDMA, and the code is used in CDMA as 64 elements. Same thing. A Walsh code generator capable of performing signal processing at a very high speed using the code word of Walsh code. What he's saying, Walsh code generator is capable of performing signal processing at a very high speed. A binary counter 3. You already know about counters. A binary counter 3 generates a count signal counting upper digits of the code word number corresponding to the code word of Walsh code of plural bits. In the we have a truth table for each and every counter. Now he is simply saying that truth table is nothing but upper digits of the code word number corresponding to the code word. A parallel generation controller 4 controller 4 generates by the count signal and upper bits of the code word number A Codeword number, a parallel generation control signal for causing bits make up the codeword to be generated in parallel. There are 2 points in this. A parallel generation controller 4 generates by the count signal and upper bits of the codeword number. A parallel generation control signal, that is, in the first thing he is talking about controller. In the second point he is talking about signal. Parallel generation control signal for causing bits making up the codeword to be generated in parallel. A parallel Walsh code generator 5 generates the codeword by parallel generation control signal and the lower number of bits of the code number. There are different versions like 4, 5, 3. Best used is 64 because it has many combinations at a time. The Walsh code generator may be reduced in the maximum operating frequency, while its power consumption may also be lowered. Students, what you do? Actually, in the unit 4, whatever topics I'm covering online is almost containing the same information which I've given you in the notes, because I didn't tend to change the content because you already have the content. So if I change, you will be, maybe you will be get confused between whatever I have told in the PPT and whatever I have given in notes. So what you do is you prepare your notes thoroughly, and do remember only parity check and Hamming code has the probability to come in long answers. Other than that, error correction and detection he will ask. If he wants to ask still more questions from unit 4, he will definitely come down here CRC. Okay, Walsh, NRZ and Manchester codes are just short answers. You can also observe the questions which have been repeated in the last 2 years. I have posted both the question papers. Archana has told you one question paper, and I think along with that one more I have sent in the PDF document. Question papers I have sent already through WhatsApp. Please go through it. Don't take the holidays as a what to say, time pass. Don't spend your time on TVs XYZ. Don't know when and how you will write the exams for the semester. If you write in the middle of the semester also, it is a trouble. If you're writing at the end of next semester also, it is a trouble, because every time you have to study both the syllabus, present semester, previous semester. Just imagine, it is better to be on safe side. మనం ఒక్క సెమిస్టర్కి చదివి రాస్తేనే కష్టంగా పాస్ అవుతాం. Imagine what will be the situation if you waste the time. Thank you, guys.